the idea that the teaching and the learning methodology focuses on dialogue, through dialogue, for dialogue. And to some degree this is linked to our focus as a subject area around leadership and management. Don't you dare call it a soft skill, because anyone who's tried to do leadership will tell you it's pretty hard. But it is really a communicative subject area. So actually using a learning methodology that focuses on talk, on collaboration, on exploration, and really emphasising that difference between dialogic and dialectic. We try to focus much more on the dialogic, not the dialectic, not the instrumental. We're not trying to form a consensus around one idea. We're trying to open things up and be open to a multitude of ideas. Now, what that looks like in terms of an actual approach looks a bit like that. The same colour coding with the connection, the guided exploration, the facilitated investigation, and then the real-world application. Basically, I'm going to go quickly through this one. I'm happy to show it to anyone later because it would take a fair while to explain. Basically, there's a lot of connecting going on here, a lot of focus on ongoing discussion. And we have a big emphasis also on peer coaching. So peer coaching is a constant element in all our courses, and it really becomes another form of glue throughout the progression of a course. As I said, that's quite a complicated thing there. We could talk all day about how that works. What I want to focus your attention on, though, and what I think makes us special, is our overwhelming focus on synchronous learning. And you won't find a whole lot of e-learning providers standing up saying, that's the heart of our approach. It is for us. Without this, we don't feel that our courses do much at all. So we invest a lot of time and effort and expense on making this really, really happen. In terms of what it looks like for the learners, I've just taken you under the hood and shown you some of the stuff under the hood. For them, it's pretty straightforward. It sort of comes out as a flow like this. I'll just very quickly just show you what those elements look like to walk through that learning methodology. So at the beginning, we have a connection. We start by asking them some simple questions. We start to get them thinking about what they think they already know, or what sort of real-world experiences they might be able to relate this back to. The guided exploration, using that principle of cutting-edge 21st century content, at least 90% of the content that we put in front of learners has a video component, has a multimedia component. And we do provide them with a lot of readings and a lot of texts, but it's a kind of general rule for us that you should be providing something audio-visual. And a lot of these are micro lectures. They're 4 to 5 minutes long, not much beyond that. And we've got a very, very talented multimedia crew who provide motion graphics and put these into the micro lectures. I think one of the interesting things that we do with the motion graphics is we don't tell the multimedia team at first what to show. What we actually say is, watch the video for yourself. As a visual thinker, tell us how you think this should be depicted, which is a really interesting way of going about it, because they're not academic people. They don't have an academic background, our multimedia people, but they do have a visual thinking and awareness background. We've generated in the last 12 months about 400 of these micro lectures with the motion graphics, with a multimedia team of 3. So they've been really quite productive. And if you consider the fact that they also manage, record, and edit up to 50 live webinars a week, this is probably one of the most productive multimedia teams I've not only worked with, but ever heard of. they are colossally productive and quality driven. After they've gone through some of those micro lectures and looked at the prompts that encourage them to reflect in relation to themselves, as well as go back into the workplace and try a couple of things out, we then do this sort of gathering where we say, this is important what we do here. We show them all the prompts again and give them a reminder of all the things they've looked at, but they then select what they think matters to talk about to the group. So they will self-select what resonates for them or what they feel has been big for them, and they'll share that with the group asynchronously in a discussion forum format. And this all leads into the live webinar, which looks like this. This is a typical example. We use Zoom. I'm sure many of you have heard of Zoom. When I was at the University of Melbourne, in that role there, we checked out a variety of tools. I think they ended up going with the Blackboard version, but when we trialled Zoom, I was just so impressed with the quality of the video and the audio that once I moved over to Australian School of Applied Management, I took that with me, and we've made excellent use of it. This is a cohort of higher education professional staff who are doing a Women in Leadership course with us. And you can see these webinars go from anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, and they are very, very discursive. There'll be a review of their feelings and thoughts in relation to the guided exploration. But in every one of these sessions, we have what we call a burning question, where we'll throw down the gauntlet a bit and really challenge the group. We also make extensive use of breakout rooms. So you're all familiar with breakout rooms, I hope, yes? So at various points in these live sessions, we'll hit the breakout rooms function, and groups of 3 or 4 will be selected, and they'll have private conversations in their group of 3 or 4 before returning back to the broader group. Once they've had their live webinar, within the next week they are invited back into the portal again to say, well, now they've had a bit of time to think about it and a bit of time to sort of absorb some of that, where are you now? What are you noticing now? What are you thinking about now? And of course, because we deal with working people who are very busy, both professionally and with their family lives, they can't always make the synchronous session, of course. So we make sure we record them and we edit them nicely. We don't just throw this raw video file up into the portal. We edit it nicely and make sure it's quite presentable. And we re-embed that back in the learning portal so that if you've missed the live session, you can go and watch it and learn from it. Or if you want to just review, you may have made the synchronous session, but you'd like to review it, or there's something you can recall and you'd like to go back and hear it again or check it out. And this technology allows us to work in-house as well. So this is a group of teachers at an independent school in rural, regional New South Wales. I actually facilitate that group myself, and I'm beaming into a room that they gather in together. And there's a swivel camera there, and there's a room mic, and it really feels like you're standing in the room. It really feels like you're standing there in front of them when you're talking. And given that they are so far away and they're so remote, to be able to have this level of live connectivity with them and to do group work with them, in that room is just really quite phenomenal. As I said, we always follow up with some sort of real-world application, some sort of toolkit based on that module's topic or focus. Take this back out into your workplace, try it out with your team, or try it out with your particular work responsibilities. We have one of those in every module. And as I mentioned, the peer coaching. Now, when I said peer coaching, we don't just say pair up, be buddies and coach each other. We actually use a professional coach who teaches our participants how to coach. And you can see the breakdown there of a typical course. We put the peer coaching elements in at distributed points, and it gradually scales up in terms of the demands of it. And we teach people how to be coaches, basically, for their peers. Now that's important in our field because we're in the leadership field, and being a leader and being a good manager, you need to know how to coach people, so that's natural. But from what I'm seeing from our participants, I actually think there's a lot to recommend this kind of method for any kind of subject. That if you can teach learners how to coach each other in the learning process, there's an enormous amount of good comes out of that. We get a lot of qualitative survey responses from participants saying that this was probably the most special part of the course for them, that capacity to pair up with someone and to know how to actually help them and to be helped by them.